In 58 AD, a prisoner stood here accused before the mightiest empire the world has ever known. His name was Apostle Paul, a missionary and now an enemy of Rome. Imprisoned for 2 years behind these walls, Paul awaited judgment in Caesarea Maritima, a Roman capital of Judea, built by ambitious and ruthless King Herod the Great. Herod named this remarkable city in honor of Caesar Augustus, making Caesarea the grandest harbor in the eastern Mediterranean, an unprecedented marvel of Roman engineering and imperial power. Today, I'm standing at the heart of what was Roman capital in the east, where governors ruled, apostles were judged, and a new religion began to spread across the empire. Long before Caesarea became a lavish capital of Roman Judea, there was a small, lesser-known town here, Stratos Tower, a Phoenician coastal settlement dating back to the 4th century BC. Stratos Tower was a small but strategically important harbor, connecting local traders with distant Mediterranean ports centuries before Herod's grand vision. When Herod the Great chose this spot for his monumental city around 20 BC, Stratos Tower disappeared beneath Caesarea's new Roman architecture. When King Herod first dreamed of Caesarea Maritima, he faced a seemingly impossible problem. The Levantine coast had no natural harbors, but King Herod was a king who never took no for an answer. Using cutting-edge Roman technologies, he set up to build an artificial harbor, the likes of which had never been seen. Here at the port of Caesarea, which was built by Herod the Great in about 20 BC, and he used something called hydraulic concrete to create cement blocks because the whole Levantine coast is very flat and a natural harbor, so he created an artificial harbor, one of the largest one in the Roman Empire at the time. These blocks were the size of modern city buses, and they transformed this flat coast into one of the largest artificial harbors in the Roman Empire, about 20 football fields in size. Imagine this bay filled with hundreds of trading ships from Egypt, Greece, and Rome. The harbor quickly became a bustling gateway connecting Judea to the world. Herod's bold gamble paid off, turning Caesarea into one of the Mediterranean's most prosperous ports. A thriving Roman city like Caesarea needed one crucial resource: fresh water. Yet Caesarea had none nearby. Once again, Roman ingenuity provided a remarkable solution, an aqueduct system that remains visible and structurally impressive nearly 2,000 years later. Standing underneath an aqueduct in Caesarea Maritima, which was a 10-kilometer, about 6-mile long aqueduct that went from the city of Beniamina all the way to the city of Caesarea. At its peak, it delivered enough water for each of the estimated 100,000 residents of Caesarea to have 200 liters a day. In Caesarea, life was not just about power and politics, but also leisure, comfort, and luxury. The Roman baths were at the heart of this lifestyle, sophisticated structure designed for relaxation, socializing, and indulgence. Romans perfected the art of bathing with the heated floors, steam rooms, and cooling pools. Citizens spent hours here each day, exercising, discussing business, or simply unwinding. Today, these baths and mosaic offer a glimpse into the beauty and comfort of daily life in Caesarea. One of its most thrilling arenas in the heart of Caesarea is the Hippodrome. Thousands gathered to watch chariot races at a breakneck speeds, their wheels skimming the sand as the crowd roared. Right now I'm standing right underneath the Hippodrome seating. It's one of the tunnels where the gladiators would gather and then they would run out and do the fight. The Hippodrome was around 70 meters long and it was used for chariot races, animal hunts, and also later the gladiator fights. This massive arena was the size of 4 modern football fields and could seat up to 20,000 spectators. In time, this racetrack evolved into an arena of blood and bravery. Gladiators fought here, some for freedom, others for survival, before the eyes of an empire hungry for spectacle. Right now I'm walking into a Roman theater, which was built by Herod the Great between 20 to 10 BC, and you can seat up to 4,000 people, and it was one of the largest theaters at the time and one of the first one as well to be built in the Roman Empire. In this space, citizens laughed, wept, and marveled at stories of gods and heroes. From tragedies and comedies to concerts and festivals, the theater was a cultural centerpiece where art brought the empire together. Every performance was also a display of Roman cultural dominance, subtly Romanizing the diverse population of Judea. At the city's highest point, Herod the Great built a grand temple dedicated to Caesar Augustus, where politics and religion merged under Roman rule. But centuries later, that same hilltop was transformed. The pagan temple became a Christian cathedral named after the apostle who has once been imprisoned here. Stretching into the sea on a rocky peninsula once stood Herod's palace, a fusion of luxury, power, and architectural brilliance. Herod lived like a king of the Rome, with seawater pools, columned halls, and private courtyards. The most remarkable feature was a massive saltwater swimming pool, essentially a private piece of Mediterranean within the palace walls. But this palace wasn't just for kings. It may also have been a prison. According to a tradition, the Apostle Paul was held here for 2 years awaiting trial. Paul was kept under house arrest rather than in a dungeon since he was a Roman citizen. From here, he appealed to Caesar and began his journey to Rome. The grandeur of Caesarea could not last forever. Caesarea fell from the Roman rule in the 7th century when the Arab army came in, and then was later recaptured in 1101 during the First Crusade. And where I'm standing right now, it is a Crusader fortress that was built in the 12th century, and then later on it was rebuilt during the Third Crusade in the 1200s. Notice how the Crusaders used Roman columns as horizontal reinforcements within these walls, a practical choice that symbolizes their claim to Roman glory. Even Richard the Lionheart walked these walls, but like so many before, the Crusaders were eventually driven out and the city was abandoned. Today, Caesarea Maritima is no longer a capital of an empire, but it's far from forgotten. Waves still crash against its ancient harbor. Visitors walk where apostles once stood, where chariots raced and where emperors ruled, and where faith was tested. Since excavation began in the 1950s, less than 15% of ancient Caesarea has been uncovered.
Next to me here is a stela of Pontius Pilate. It is the first documented mention outside the Bible of Pontius Pilate as the governor of Judea in around 30 AD. The stela was found around in 1950s by Italian archaeologists, and it was in situ in its secondary usage as one of the seats for the theater. So this is the first document outside the biblical text to have the name Pontius Pilate.
The discovery of the Pilate stela is a vivid reminder of how archaeology can bring historical figures to life, connecting physical evidence with stories passed down through generations. And yet, with most of Caesarea still buried beneath our feet, we can only imagine what other secrets remain hidden, waiting to rewrite history once again. If you enjoyed this journey through Caesarea Maritima, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What part of Caesarea's story fascinated you the most? Let me know. And don't forget, keep digging.